You know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established. Let's go.
This is the Get Established Show Live, where we all about awareness and support of our community, building within and beyond it. My name is Shine, and I'm here with my brothers, Killer, D. Jones. Please like, share, and subscribe, and smash that like button for our upcoming shows. A link will be provided in the chat so that you can join in the conversation or just comment in the chat. All right. As always, disclaimer. The individual opinions expressed on here do not reflect the show as a whole and the goal of joining in and supporting our community. With that said, D. Jones,
What it is, fellas? How was the weekend, man?
what it look like?
Well, our weekend, we had the Harbor Fest, and then we had to fight the Keyshawn fight at this weekend in Scope. So there was a lot of interesting things on that end, but
Yeah,
People
that's what
still go to
happened.
Harbor man?
Yeah. Apparently, a lot
folks
of
do.
people still go to Harbor Fest, man. They still go.
Man, I just remember as a kid going to Harbor looking forward to getting some elephant ears, man. I remember
Yeah,
that, bro.
we got a homie that was named after the whole thing by my brother. You know,
Mm.
Yeah,
but
hard. Yeah.
my great nephew graduated Churchland. This past weekend, so I attended his graduation ceremony.
It's a big
You know,
thing, man. Big thing. He's going to
yeah.
college.
Hmm?
He's going to college.
I didn't ask him. I just wanted to bask in the glow of him just graduating. It rained on us, because we were going to do a cookout, but it rained on us. But it was a good time. I was glad to see him, have a milestone in his life, that can propel him into other endeavors.
Yeah, that's a good segue into the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Gen X media impact. Gen Xers are those who were born from the mid 1960s to the early 1980s. How did the economic media technology shape the influence and upbringing of the Gen Xers generation? That's what it is. So let's jump right into it, fellas. How do Gen X values and beliefs influence the decision making in various aspects of life, such as career, family, and finances?
Mm.
You all know
Uh,
that our generation was influenced by many things. We could just start off with music. Music has always influenced us with culture, even growing up. Like when we were especially in junior high school. Whatever Run DMC had shoestrings, no shoestrings in them, Adidas, Bombers, Kangos, Gazelles, name belts, all type stuff. We was always influenced about what even the music was doing, even the way we talk. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, yo, and all this chill, cool. We used to say all type words. So far as like the values of the influence and belief and decisions, we used to listen to the music and stuff, and that was always influencing us. And we had movies that's influencing us because we always talked about Scarface. Even some of the young cats watched the Max Red, Iceberg Slim. They wanted to be players, pimps. So it's like we was always influencing decisions. Even you had TV shows that was positive like the Cosby. It taught us to want to even go to college, and different worlds, stuff like that. So it's like the media, the television, the culture. There's a lot of things influenced us, man.
I'm gonna say we were we were influenced by, some of us may have been heavily influenced by our parents because we watched our parents get, go into certain careers, like maybe, like for as far as here, for example, they went to the shipyard, maybe did merchant seaman, maybe went to the post office, something like that. Jobs that they're considered to be like either they're highly stable, unionized, or someplace where you can get some advancement and have and live moderate middle class lifestyle, as far as where I say all of us grew up from. So that's what I felt like influenced our decision making, because I know as far as me, when my parents were talking to me, because of course, like I said, my desire was always to be an artist. But when my parents, they would tell me, well, why don't you go work at this, shipyard, or go to the post office, something like that, something that that is going to provide you a life where you can afford where you need to live, and have a living for you and the family that you may have.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I know that there was a big push to go to college out of high school, for us. The family's focused on that. And then once you get out of college, you get a job for a corporation and hopes that you can retire from that corporation and get some type of pension. There was also a push on making sure that you grew up and you had your own family, getting married, having kids. That was the American dream back then. So it was a little different, man. Whereas nowadays, the focus is not on getting a job. These young people have found different ways to make money, and it became real evident after COVID that people weren't trying to go in and work typical jobs anymore, or the typical way of working a job. A lot of people wanted to work from home after COVID. They realized they could get just as much done, if not more, from the household. So a lot of things changed in that aspect, man. I mean, growing up, it was real traditional. A lot of things were traditional, and that's what our parents and grandparents pushed on us. So yeah, it's a lot different now. Um, how has the Gen X focus on self sufficiency and practicality influenced their approach to work and life? I think I just covered that in a
Well,
sense, but
let,
go
let,
ahead,
let,
Sean.
let me reiterate that. All right. You know, when you was told as you got older, you when you turn 18, you get a job and you figure out what you gonna do with yourself. Either you getting out or you gonna go to school. If you ain't doing one of them, you better figure it out. Cause with pops, with my pops, that's what it was about. However you do it, you got to figure something out. But when you turn 18, you better figure it out.
And
That's crazy, man. Go ahead, Chris.
no, I was just saying, I was piggybacking off him. I mean, yeah, they were saying 18, you got to get a job. Even if you stayed at your house a little longer, you had to figure it out, pay some bills. If you had a job, help out cable something. It was just training you how to be responsible. Just like growing up with some of our parents taught us to be responsible, how to do things, how to clean your house, how to cut the grass, how to take out the trash, how to do stuff to help you to be productive in life as you goes on. Working, we was all influenced to work or find a good career or job. But then I got to look at the other side. It was gentlemen in our generation. That's when we had the crack era. So there's a lot of dudes that went out there slinging rocks and doing all type stuff, and they started blowing up. So it's like we had a generation that when crack hit the era, cats capitalized off that hustling. So it was a lot of hustlers that I grew up and knew hustling. So it was a whole different era with us. You got to realize, and people were making lots and lots of money. In the 80s, it was a lot of money flowing through that. And just like I said, you had Scarface, and I'm not saying this to promote anything, like any hustling and all that. It was just a time and an era that we went through. And then you got to realize, like I said, with the music industry, we flipped from NWA to we flipped to now, and you go all the way to the late '90s and 2000s. Everybody talking about trap music and selling and dope, hustling and hustling. So that's the like part of our culture now that you got to be a hustler and got to be a thug and you got to be a bad boy. You got to go to jail. You got to do all this stuff. This is part of the same thing we talking about. Even though we're trying to take it on a narrative that we, going to school, get a good career, get benefits, get a job, stay positive, be a role model, get some kids, get a house with a picket fence, have a wife there and do everything positive. But some of us did things without any means are necessary to survive. Because some cats never would have had cars, from where they came. If you came from out the ghetto and you had already been to jail and stuff, your outlet to making success, maybe was hustling. And some people fill up their hustling money into a positive situation by getting the business. It's all about, we were just in that culture of what we had to do to survive and make it.
Well, I would say this too, man. There are several key points that you hit on. Um, when did going to jail become a badge of honor? Because if you think about it, when we were growing up, didn't nobody want to go to jail. I mean, there were things done in that era that could land you in jail, but it wasn't cool to go to jail. You know, now it's like if you did some time, it's a badge of honor. It's like you get street cred. When did that start? I wonder. And the other thing is, man, I believe that there was more of a sense of community during our days of growing up, man. We talk about it on other shows, but uh, you know, somewhere we lost that. I've lived in a few neighborhoods since I've been older, and I might not even know. I ain't gonna say might. It's been times that I don't even know who lives next door to me, based on where I live. That simply didn't happen growing up. The neighborhood was the neighborhood. If you moved in, people came out and introduced themselves and kind of welcomed you to the neighborhood. Not just to be nosy to find out who you were, but they wanted you to realize this is a community. And you come in here with that nonsense, it's gonna be talked about. It's gonna be dealt with. So it was just a sense of community back then, and I think that has been lost. Uh, were we the last generation to experience a childhood?
I would
Yeah.
say, like Raymond said, yeah, because all the kids grew up. You had baseball leagues, football leagues, the community stadium to play part. Everybody played together. You could go in different areas as little kids, and you got to know people in school and did things. Uh, we had an era, a time that you could have a block party. There was no shooting. Everybody had a good time. You had a time you could have a house party, and it was mad house parties, and people went there and they had a good time. Today, you can't have that because the generations now they always fighting and shooting. It's like we just this weekend. It's sad to say we had a shooting out here in Portsmouth that I was hearing that it was a graduation party and I think four people might got shot and two of them might be kids. But I'm just saying it's a situation that's sad. And every time you turn on the TV watching somebody graduate, somebody's out there fighting, and it just I don't know where the senseless attitude towards each other. We got to be violent towards each other, and it's our culture has really changed a whole lot. And we asking questions. How did this come about? And like I said, it might started with us, being wanted to be gangsters and doing this stuff. But today, how can we get a handle on this? It's kind of like we all trying to figure it out. You talk to these young cats, some of them just want to, that's just the way it is. You're not going to change their narrative. That's the way their mindset is. So it's like I look at it, and I have said this before. My mindset at 18 was one way, but when I turned 24, it was different. By the time I turned 30, it was different. By the time I was 35, so it's like we don't grow up old enough to get wise. Some of us, go to jail for a lifetime by doing dumb stuff, and then they realize as they sitting behind the cells, yeah, that wasn't what they should have been doing. Sometimes it takes you to get old to get a little wiser from the immature things because culture again can just trying to follow the trend of what everybody's doing is like the biggest thing. If everybody's doing mollies, everybody smoking weed, everybody doing this, everybody smoking Black and Miles, it's like a trend. Everybody do the same thing. Everybody splitting leads and everybody rolling. I remember a time when blunts came out. I could count who was smoking, maybe the certain cats, but you didn't see a lot of girls and all these cats smoking in the late 80s and 90s, and even with the top, it was just certain character. Today, everybody's smoking. So it's like the culture has really changed. Everybody's drinking, everybody's smoking.
All right. I'm gonna I'm just gonna be real because as children, we did have a little bit more tighter community. You know, like D said. I mean, as a child, my neighbors, they knew us and we knew them. If something happened, with one of us, then a neighbor would go over to my parents' house if they had to talk to them and let them know what's going on. Um, Once we started getting into our teens and our those years, that's when the kind of shift started to change. Because like I said, I can't remember one of the shows, but I said, like, my parents used to have the family come over, and they come over and drink, party, and have a good time, and everybody was cool and was come together. But as I started getting my teens, I started to notice the family members that they wouldn't come over like they used to. You might go over there and visit them, like, say, hey, I'm gonna go visit my uncles or aunts or something like that. Go over to their house. But to have everybody come together, that didn't happen. I know for my household, and as like I said, growing up as a teen, um, that's when I started, seeing a lot of stuff and started being in a lot of stuff, you know, um, like, you know, drinking and, smoking and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that we didn't participate in things like that, because we did, and that's kind of the culture that developed based off of, like Chris said in the beginning, like music and stuff, like, because music is a heavily influences how you kind of walk in certain ways in life, because what I'm saying, especially we being the generation that was birthed in rap. What I'm saying? It's like, the switch from, we seen the switch from the conscious to the gangster. What I'm saying? And in that it's like those new thoughts and new mindsets coming in. What I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, well, hey, I you ain't gonna say your city the softest city, or your city is the most conscious. It just, at that time, it just, the shift came in. It's like, who can be the hardest? Who, what I'm saying? We started, messing around with music and stuff like that. Because it's just a phenomenon that we just kind of rode into.
So I'm gonna take it back, man. I'm gonna dive back into, were we the last generation to have a childhood? I say yes. Yes, we were. I mean, and you could ride through a neighborhood at any given moment when we were growing up, and kids were outside jumping rope, girls were playing jacks, little boys were playing kickball, football, softball, baseball, basketball. We had a game called curveball we used to play. We were just out interacting, man. That's what we
Yeah.
did. As kids, we interacted. We were outside all the time. You would go out, your parents be like, no in and out. We
Mm-hmm.
were drinking water from the water
Water
hose.
hose or
We were
spigot.
getting up money to go to the candy lady.
Uh-huh.
Uh, you know, we
Tell
were
it.
doing all that. We were outside from sun up to sundown.
Tell
So
it.
yes, so yes, and this is the thing that contributes to all this social anxiety that these kids are having now, because they don't have that interaction. And then other thing is, kids being outside with kids all day, there's gonna be some type of conflict, right? So you're not just learning about being a kid and playing, you learn how to deal with conflict, because your parents don't want to hear it. They be like, go outside and you handle that. If you get thumped upside the head, your parents send you right back out there. Nowadays, if a child hits another person's child, the parent all in that child's face. So, yeah, we had more of a childhood. We definitely had more of a childhood. And we talked about this last week on Growing Up Too Fast, uh, where these kids are being introduced to adult things too soon, and they're losing their childhood. I mean, I'm not saying now today. Obviously, society is different. Um, your kids, you have to keep an eye on your kids based on all the things that are going on. But because our community was more of a community, when we were out playing, everybody was watching all the kids. Like all the neighbors were keeping an eye. They'd be like, "Hey, Miss Gray, Derek down here doing such and such. Hey, Miss Jones, Chris over here doing that." So it was more of a community. The kids were being kids as far as interacting with other kids instead of stuck in front of a social media platform or a video game. They were learning social skills. They were more athletic. Uh, there were just a lot of different things going on. And everybody, not just the boys, the girls were outside too. So, yes, we had more of a childhood. I feel like we were the last generation to have that type of childhood. Absolutely. Let
Yeah,
me go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead,
just gonna
Chris.
say when you were saying that with even like kids playing video games, you got to look at the area where we come from. It started off with the pinball machine. Then they had that little game that came from Radio Shack with the two lines and the ball bouncing side to side. Then it came in the '80s with Atari. Then it came with Sega. Then it came with Nintendo. And came on and kept going boom 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 boom. But we was like the start of all that. We did have that,
But
but we still went
but
outside and we did everything.
but even with that being said, Chris, when we played video games, what was it like? Think about it now. There were only two controllers to the Atari. Everybody used to go to one person's house, sit there and wait for their turn to play. And while the two people were playing, they were interacting still. It
Yeah,
wasn't like it was one person on this side of the internet and another person on another side of the internet and another person on the other side of the internet, and they were communicating through the internet. No, we were all in the same place at the same time playing the game together. So it was still different. It was
yeah,
still different, man.
yeah. You're right. And then
We used to go to the pool.
yeah,
You'll see us walking to the pool, going swimming. Man, that was the thing. We'd be outside all
Going to the
day.
rec center.
They
yeah.
damn
Right.
near, damn near dehydrated. Parents rubbing rubbing alcohol on you at night because you're cramping. The green alcohol. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. You've been outside running all day, and you wake up in the middle of the night hollering because you're dehydrated and you're cramping.
Get the mercurochrome because you just scrape
Yeah,
your knees that thing.
exactly.
You got to wipe the red
Exactly.
stuff on,
And listen,
on the
and listen,
red thing.
if you fell down and scrape your knee, there won't no whining and you limp around talking about you twisting your ankle. We were breaking limbs still trying to play.
Shut
Yeah,
up, boy.
brush it
Sit down
off, brush
somewhere.
it
You
off and
got
went back
this
out there.
mercury
You
on.
know
Sit
what
down
I'm saying?
somewhere.
Brush
You
it
should
off
have
and
been
went
out
back
there
out
messing
there.
around, running and jumping anyway.
Yeah.
Bro,
Walk
son
around
got a
missing
cat. Look, your bro son got a catch and went right back out there.
right out there.
That's
Right
right.
out there.
Go ahead and get that iceberg. Go get that iceberg. And here, take this 20, 25 cents. Go
Well,
get your iceberg and some candy.
man, what you
Just shut
talking
up.
about? Go get a ice cup. It was, man. We were walking to the candy lady buying pickles, putting 9 laters inside of the pickle. I mean, not 9 laters.
Peppermint. Peppermint.
Yeah, inside
The
yeah,
girls would put
man.
the peppermints in there, all that stuff, man. It
All
was
that.
like, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
different era. It's a different childhood, man. You got to realize, and it's just like even if you talk about the food industry, it wasn't so many food industry because we was a generation when it started having, Happy Meals. We was a generation, and a lot of people might forget this, but you got to be our age when they had Underoos. You remember the Underoos when you had the heroes like Captain America,
Oh,
Superman, all that.
absolutely.
We had Underoos. A lot of people can't remember
But
that. You
listen,
know what I'm saying? It was a generation that we had a lot of different stuff, man. That was jumping.
but if you ate McDonald's, that was a delicacy back then.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You got to
No,
think about it.
for us,
Parents were still making.
McDonald's was the Saturday special. Because I remember me and my sisters used to walk to McDonald's and get us some hot cakes and sausage. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, you won't. It
We
won't
that
like that was
was
the go-to.
that was
Parents were cooking, making
oh yeah.
lunch. Like if Seriously, you better not ask for no
Like I
McDonald's during the
said,
week.
we used to go to grandma's house. She used to cook us some. She used to boil us some hot dogs and some pork and beans. We got
Yeah,
daggone sit down
yeah.
somewhere with the sardine bread.
McDonald's was a weekend thing. It wasn't an everyday thing,
Oh
So it's
yeah, that
like,
was
Exactly.
Sunday. Just jump off.
everything. It was like
Church.
school out Friday. What you want? I want a Happy Meal. And then the Cracker Jacks used to give us toys, and then you even got a toys and a Happy Meal. And I remember back then we all drunk knee highs, and you always had a top you pop, and hope you got a fresh new knee high because you got a
Amen.
free one. It was so much jumping off back then. Life was totally different. You know what I'm saying? Life was different.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you this. Going to Long John Silver was like going to a 5-star restaurant.
Shoot.
What
Going
you
to
talking
Kentucky
about,
Fried
man?
Chicken was like goddamn going luxury.
Let these kids telling their parents what they will and won't eat. Man,
Man,
please.
look, I
Door
grew up.
dashing.
We grew up on like frying bologna. We grew up on beefaroni, raviolis. We grew up on,
Woo.
and then you got to realize they had Murray's, and they always had all the
Oh.
hamburgers. You go to Murray's, you would get
Woo.
everything. Hamburgers with cheese between it, all that, man.
The
You got
French toast
everything. The
sticks.
barbecue sauce, the fish sticks, the
Oh
chicken, what?
yeah.
Yeah, you got
Gorgeous fish sticks, man. What you talking about,
chicken
bro?
patties.
What?
We stayed in Murray's. That was a
No,
delicacy.
no,
When you got your
Murray was the drop.
yeah, Murray was a drop for the black people because we all went there and got everything majority of our
For
food
cheap.
from Murray. You could get the what you got the French toast in the morning or the sticks and all.
Exactly.
You got everything out of Murray's.
One
You
stop
right.
shop.
So it was a whole different time of living and eating, man. It was totally different.
Yeah, it was totally different, man. It was totally different.
Y'all young
But
don't know about that.
but yes, to answer the question, yes, we were one of the last generations to experience a childhood.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. What iconic movies and TV shows from the Gen X era have left a lasting impact on our popular culture?
Go ahead, Chris, because you already said a few.
I mean, I already said as far as movie stuff like Scarface, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Societies, New Jack City, all these movies have always been like, the movies that, we liked back then. I mean, these are them type movies. I mean, you had movies like
Come
Beach
on, come
Street
on, come on,
Breaking.
come on,
You
come
had
on, come on.
movies like, even going in the 90s Friday, that was an impact movies. It's like these movies right there, these was trendsetters. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Even back then, these
I'm
are the
gonna
movies.
tell
But
you.
like
Car
Scarface
wash.
influenced Car Wash. That's in the '70s. You got
Hmm.
Foxy Brown. You got Black Caesar. You got the Mac. You got all these movies back then. You Willie Dynamite. You got movies that's very influenced back in when we were growing up. Because like I said, Cooler High is one of my still favorite movies since I was a little kid. So you know what I'm saying. So it's like we always had movies that influence us to be a certain way, do certain ways, to imitate people, act like certain things, to dress the way we dress and want to be swag and cool.
Yeah.
You got stuff like Superfly, all these people all the way into the 90s, 80s, 90s. There's always been a dress code to look a certain way, to wear a certain style shoe, to wear certain styles of clothes, to wear everything. And like I said the Kango, I said the Bombers, we used to wear the Gazelles, we used to wear the name belts, we used to wear the Adidas, the shell toes, we used to wear the Suedes, we used to wear the Suede Pumas, the Suede Adidas, we used to wear all these tight shoes and clothes back then, man. Yeah, and then
Man,
everybody used to wear the herringbones around the neck. First it was sterling silver, then you wore the gold, then you got the links. You know what I'm saying? All this was part of our culture.
I'm gonna take you back, man. See, you missing something, man.
Uh-oh.
We gonna start. We gonna take it back.
Go for it.
We gonna take it back when we be outside playing, and we knew that Godzilla was coming on, and you go to 7-Eleven to get the 3D glasses, so you can see it in 3D.
Oh,
See,
we
you
talking about
gotta
the
take
creature
it
from
back.
the Black
Yeah,
Lagoon and
take,
whatnot.
take it, take it back. Take it back,
The
son.
black
Creature from the Black
See,
Lagoon got to have the glasses on.
You gotta take it back. Where everybody was watching the Wizard of Oz, and in the black community, the Wiz came on TV.
Oh yes.
You got to take it back. You talking about iconic movies that affected. What about when Bill Cosby came on with Let's Do It Again, Uptown Saturday Night? Huh? What about that? What about when Richard Pryor dropped the toy?
Yeah.
See, we ain't talking about that or Brewster's Millions. We ain't talking about that. See, these are the movies that were iconic back then. To see a black man on the movie screen
Man,
back then in the black community, come on, man,
Yeah. Oh,
that was
and
huge,
let's
man.
not bring to the nines. We talk about Wesley Snipes and white men
look,
can't
Oh,
jump,
look.
oh
They,
yeah,
jungle
that,
fever.
Look,
You know what I'm saying?
I don't even want to throw the beat off, but it was even times we had to watch kung fu movies, kung fu theater. Yeah, we ran to the house just to watch Kid with the Golden Arm, Five Deadly Venoms, all that type stuff. So we were still into watching different stuff, even though I'm not saying they were black dudes, but we were still into the kung fu movies.
no,
You know what I'm
No,
no,
saying?
we was deep in
you're
that.
absolutely right.
Come on,
You're
bro.
absolutely right. And let's not act. We watched Tarzan back then. Uh,
Yeah.
we definitely watched Tarzan. I was on that. Let's not act.
Let's go to cartoons. We used to watch
Fat
Oh,
Albert,
He-Man,
Fat
that
Albert.
daggone Fat Albert,
the the
Yeah, you know,
Flintstones, Voltron,
Jetsons.
the Jetsons. Hey, listen, man.
He-Man, Thundercats, all that stuff was coming on
Yeah.
back then, man. They was the old
So
thing.
yeah. Iconic TV shows. Okay, what about The Last Dragon?
Oh
Oh
yes,
man,
Showing
Bruce
up.
Leroy.
that's right. That's right.
Bruce
Producer.
Leroy.
That's right,
Kiss
producer.
Bruce
my
Leroy.
Converse. You know what I'm saying?
Who's the
What you talking about?
master?
I'm gonna tell you a movie that my brother took me to see. I probably shouldn't have seen it. It was my sixth grade year. I went with Christopher D. Jones, aka Cello, to see Purple Rain. I'll never forget that. We sat through about 4 showings of it. We were at Granby Theater,
Yeah,
and you could, as long as you ain't leave out, you could watch the movie as much as you wanted to.
yeah, you're right.
And I sat there and watched Purple Rain on the
Yeah,
big screen.
Oh, Dion said Tom and Jerry too.
yeah,
That's
Tom and
right, Tom
Jerry.
and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry went on, man.
And Big Mama. Big
And
Mama.
look,
You ain't see
I
her
used
face, but you see them thick legs and thighs.
yeah, I used to love
What
I used to
about
love Johnny
you
Quest, man. I ain't gonna
friends?
lie. I love Johnny
Oh,
Quest back
Chris,
then.
Yes,
Johnny Quest
absolutely,
was my
yes.
cartoon,
absolutely,
man.
Hygiene
Johnny
absolutely.
and all
Quest.
that.
Hercules, all of
Absolutely.
them
Oh
was my
yeah, I about to say
cartoons, man.
Hercules, Space
All of
Ghost.
them was my cartoons back then. Hercules,
Space
Space
Ghost.
Ghost, Space
Space
Ghost,
Ghost.
all that,
That's
man.
right.
All of them were my cartoons back then, man.
Yeah, see.
Uh-huh.
We remember that
I'm gonna tell you
childhood
a
real vivid.
cartoon. I'm gonna tell you a cartoon I used to like. I'm gonna be honest. I used to like Inspector Gadget. I
Yeah,
was on that
yeah.
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
Moms.
Penny and the dog. Whatever I forgot
Yeah,
the dog
I
name.
was on that. I'm gonna tell you another show. We talking about cartoons. What about some of the shows that we used to watch? I used to watch Get Smart.
Right.
Um, I used to watch I Dream of Jeannie. I was on that. Some of the black shows, the Sanford and Son. Uh,
Right.
what about Chico and the Man? Welcome Back, Carter.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
welcome back,
Oh
Uh,
Carter.
yes.
I mean, you got
Maud.
what's happening. You got the Jeffersons.
What's
You got
happening?
you got Give Me a Break. You got Different Strokes. You got so many.
that's my mama.
That's my
Yeah,
mama.
that's my
Yeah.
mama. All that. So it was a lot of shows back then that we was watching. That was on TV that we
And,
used to
and,
watch for.
and all and the one thing about we could say about the shows that we watched on TV was they were positive. They showed. I mean, they might show some issues, but mostly they showed the black family structure in a positive light. You know what I'm saying? Just show them how everybody's sticking together, how everybody was. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with issues. But retain that family structure. You know what I mean?
No,
But
I'm with you, man. I'm with you now. I will admit, Good Times was depression, man. It was depressing.
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I mean,
mean,
they
The
didn't get
name
out
of the
together,
show
I
is
mean,
good.
but
The name of the show is Good Times, but nothing ever good ever happened
what?
on the show.
That damn show was
Nothing never
damn near
good ever happened on the
suicidal,
show.
boy.
They
it was
kept
all
they kept us in bondage. You hope for something to change. They get money. James, get some money. Then James died. You depressed again. Then you
and
hope JJ will make it and draw.
Keith would be that NFL player, but he got tricked up and jacked up by JJ, and his
Yeah, it's
whole
like
career went in the toilet.
that whole show was just like you never seen them get out the hole.
Well, I
They
mean,
stayed in the hole.
it was all about the family structure, man. I was trying to highlight the family structure and staying
No, and
together
I
as
and
a
I
family.
get that, man. But good grief, that show was depressing, man. You know, a show that kind of inspired me actually was the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seeing
actually,
George getting businesses, and he had more than one,
sticking up
cleaning
for himself.
company, and he living in a penthouse. So, and he the way he talked, he was bold. He'll cuss somebody out, call him whatever. So it's like George was a whole
Man,
different. He was a whole
yeah,
different character.
he ain't hold his tongue, man.
Yeah, he
That
was.
dude said what he
Yeah,
No,
wanted.
he said what he had
Yeah,
to say,
man.
man. Hmm.
so
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: what kind of music and other entertainment were significant influences by the Gen X culture?
I love PE, man. PE at a time came out saying some stuff, when we needed to hear something that was strong and positive. Because hip hop, to me, hip hop, and I don't want to get into the hip hop talk like real strong, but the generation, like even me and Dion were talking about, I said from the 80s to 85, we had this, and then from 86 to 90, you had this great boom with Rakim, LL, Kane, Chaos One, Biz Markie. You had Slick Rick. You had so many. You had MC Light. You had Queen Latifah. You had Sweet Tea. You had Salt and Pepper. You had so many great MCs with music. To me, the hardest part of hip hop in music, that it was so many people coming out left and right, just spitting and rocking, that it was just ridiculous. From Biz Markie to Heavy D, so many cats and girls was just lighting it up all the way to
I'm
NWA.
I'm gonna go a kind of look back where we started and move, and then because I'm gonna go from that point where we grew up as kids was we listened to a lot of R&B. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the, Smokey Robinson, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, Bebo Bryson, you know what I'm saying? Jeffrey Osborne, you know what I'm saying? All them guys that was really bringing soulful Marvin Gaye, even though he was, what I'm saying, kind of, but he dipped into the 70s and the 80s a little bit. So it's like Michael Jackson. So we were the last generation that was dancing to R&B and music like that. Like, hey, you just, you dance with a girl, and you know what I'm saying, you doing your thing and having a good time, and you know what I'm saying, hollering at chicks, getting numbers and all that stuff like that in that way, having a time like that. But look, they don't, like Goody Mo
They
B
don't
said, they don't
dance no
dance
more.
no more. They don't dance no more.
So, I'm gonna go in a different direction, man. I think early on our musical palette was more diverse, and I say that because I was listening to ZZ Top, I was listening to Billy Idol, I was listening to Hall and Oates, I was listening to Michael Jackson, I was listening to our music, their music.
Yes.
There was no such thing,
Yep.
and I love hip hop. I'm a hip hop head, trust me. But the game changed when hip hop hit strong. I stopped
Hmm.
listening to a lot of music that I used to listen to. I was listening to Cyndi Lauper. It was just a lot of things that we were listening to prior to the boom of hip hop.
You laugh, Chris. You know it's
It
true.
I know Madonna, no man, it was so
That's
many
right,
artists.
God
You,
dang it.
you listen to everybody,
George.
man.
Like a
I
virgin.
mean, seriously, man.
The
But
Culture Club, you would listen to
you,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
was on
yeah,
the
yeah,
radio,
yeah.
man.
yeah,
Hmm.
man.
Everybody
I
was
mean,
on the radio.
it just changed. It changed for me, and I kind of drifted away from a lot of the music that I grew up listening to, except for R&B and hip hop.
Yep.
They stayed,
Yeah, you got,
but I
you
got
got,
away from a lot of the pop and rock and the soft rock, I should say. I was
You
never
got
into
you got
heavy
Guy, you
metal.
got Keith Sweat came out. The music started getting a
Exactly.
little more
Exactly.
rocking. Tevin Campbell was rocking. It was a
Yes.
whole bunch of people. I'll Be Sure came out rocking. It was a whole lot of New Edition was some murder in there. It was a whole
I tell you
lot
what.
of
I
different
tell you
artists
what.
coming out.
I tell you what. I remember when Michael Jackson dropped any of his videos, we would have to stay up to 1 and 2 in the morning to see him. No, real talk, because
Right.
they weren't getting that airplay during normal hours. You had to stay up to see Michael Jackson. When Thriller dropped, no, forget Thriller. When Beat It came out, when Billie Jean came out, when Thriller came out, Chris, you know we were staying up to damn near 3 o'clock in the morning to see those videos.
No, when Thriller, no, I'm gonna put it like this: Michael, I think, broke the barrier because you got before him, Rick James was trying to set it up with MTV and stuff. But when Michael came out with Billie Jean, he started getting a lot of rotation, and he came out with Beat It. And when he came out with Thriller, you had a clock when that was going to come on because it was like 15 minutes just to white was like a little movie. So it's like when Thriller came out, it just changed the whole thing of videos.
and
He
we
just
and we
he
didn't
just,
and we didn't have the hey, you can go on the internet and watch that. We had to wait till the TV show came on regular TV in order to goddamn watch it.
hey,
It
look.
won't know. Okay, yeah. Let me go on the computer and look at this up. No, we had to wait till that whole goddamn on the next week till the
No,
next show come on.
this is even funnier when he's saying that. Remember when our favorite song came on? We had a boom box and we had to wait for the countdown or for the song to hit the record so you can record
Yeah.
your song, man. You were like, whoa, you got it. You waiting to get the song to record your song, man, so you can play it all day. So it's
Yep.
like we used to sit there and had to wait for that. Then at the tape pop, you had to get some tweezers and some little tape, man, and play with it and put it back together so you can hear your songs,
We ain't
man.
even talking about tape.
So
We
I'm
ain't talking
like,
about tape kids. We ain't talking about tape
see, they,
CDs.
they know CDs. They don't know about tape. Like Biggie said, I used to let my tape rock till my tape pop. They don't understand
Yes.
that.
Dudes got there go. If you had your homeboys in your car, got there, they jacking you for your tapes and stuff like that. You know what I'm
And
saying?
not only that,
Rubbing
man,
the name
you
off it and stuff like that. So he's like, okay, what the heck, bro? What tape is that, man? I
you
don't
you
know,
had
dog.
you had to hit rewind. You had to hit
Yeah,
rewind if you
yeah,
wanted to hit the song again.
yeah, yeah. To play all that back. It won't no pause. I mean, won't no. You can just skip back to something real quick. Yeah, like you said, rewind.
And if you ain't clean your tape that right, that joker got there going
Heat up your.
wind up. You soon you pull that tape out, whole tape thread,
And then you
right
gotta,
on out
you
with
gotta
it.
fix it.
And
Gotta fix
then
it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to hear it.
Roll
Then
that
hopefully
tape
ain't
yeah,
got
with
no
a
crinkles.
pencil.
Hopefully it ain't no got no crinkles in like
hold
mess
up,
up the sound
hold
in
up.
it.
If you had a little girlfriend, you call that night, or you be playing the slow jams over the phone. You be calling,
Quiet
you be
storm.
calling, trying to request
Quiet
the song,
storm.
and you dedicated to her.
Yeah.
This is
Y'all know about
this is
y'all know
from
about that. Y'all know about that. Y'all ain't got that. Y'all ain't
this
got
on
that.
my woman, Rochelle. I want to dedicate "Ready for the World"
Yeah,
to
ready for the
Rochelle.
world. He went back to junior high on
He
him.
went back. He went back. He threw it back.
Ready for the world.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What? I mean, man, it was just a different culture back then when it came to music, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all
And
know
I'll say
about
this
that.
back to hip hop as a whole, we had a lot more positive hip hop. The thing is, even now at an older age, I gravitate to artists that have something to say. And this is no diss to any hip hop artist. I still love hip hop. It's just different. It comes in different forms. I just gravitate to what sounds familiar, like a J. Cole, a Kendrick Lamar before the beef. uh, Artists up like that, because what I grew up with, listening to Tribe Called Quest was one of my favorite groups, and if you watch the show, you should know that.
Exactly.
PE, my brother took me to my first Public Enemy concert, and it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm talking about crazy. I think about one of the movies I didn't mention, Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee.
Oh yeah.
That movie with Radio Raheem, that movie was classic. Classic. And young people, if you have not seen Do the Right Thing, please go back and watch Do the Right Thing. Classic movie. One
Yep.
of Spike Lee early movies. Um,
All you gotta
School
do
so
is
days.
PE, fight the power.
Yeah,
That's
that's
School
all you
right.
gotta
Days
do.
too was a good movie.
School
Do,
Days was a
doing,
good movie also.
yeah.
School Days also. We had, but back to hip hop, it has changed a lot. It has evolved, and it's nothing wrong with that. I was a big fan of NWA. I was, even though
Let's
that
talk
wasn't the
about it.
best, most positive music to listen to in that era. I like Two Live Crew, so I can't sit here and be a hypocrite and talk about the music of the day because
Yeah,
we had damaging music
we
back then
had it.
as
Ghetto
as far
Boy.
as the lyrics.
Ice T, too short. What you talking about, man?
Yep.
Yes,
I
I
mean
can't
that
sit there and
that
act like, you know what I'm
during
saying?
when we
Short
started
full
in our
dog
late
whistle.
our late teens into our 20s, that's when you had more of the gangster rap come in. You know what I'm saying? And it was more. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we in our early 20s, so it's like, yo, we listen to this stuff, and it's like, hey, you living life, you doing your thing, and it's like, and that's kind of our, kind of our way into breaking into what we're talking about as far as how, some of this led to some of these family kind of dispersing and breaking off. I mean, not the real, it's real focus on family. Just kind of like, hey, we out here, we just doing what we doing, we getting it. We just trying to live, get our paper and get it. Not like our bag,
Absolutely.
like they say now.
Absolutely. And I got a couple of more questions I want to get in before the show ends. So let's move on.
So
How did Gen X fashion choices reflect their attitude and rebellion against societal norms?
I mean, shoot, we used to have those. Remember we used to cross colors. Always had the like bright red, green, and yellow, black, or something like that to influence, showing that we rebelling against the establishment, power, black
Oh,
power, the
absolutely.
movement, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Man,
We
you
used
know
to
how
wear.
wear the
We,
medallions, the Africa
yep.
medallions. Um,
Everybody had one.
you
I
know,
know I had one.
how just the truck jewelry, the the like Chris was talking about the ropes and stuff like that, the Mercedes medallion, just showing that, hey, look, you talking about, you want the you looking, showing that what I mean, I'm trying to be better than
Listen,
what somebody's saying that I am. I'm looking
We
better.
listen.
I'm
When
feeling better.
when X Clan when X Clan came out and they were rocking those Africa medallions, you can't tell me everybody didn't have one.
Exactly.
You can't tell me everybody didn't have one. X Clan came out,
Exactly.
it blew.
Yeah.
Those medallions blew. But
I
but I
still have
just
had
say,
one.
some of the things. Now I will say this: some of the things from my generation that jumped with the Gen X generation, as far as the males, are still in place today. You think about it. We were wearing Air Force Ones. That's still in place today. We
Still
were
in place
wearing
today.
shell toes.
Still in place
That's still
today.
in place today. We were wearing Timbos.
Still in
That's
place
still in
today.
place today.
Yeah.
We were wearing the snapback baseball hats.
Still in
That's
place
still in
today.
place today. So we were wearing do rags. That's
Still
still
in
in
place
place
today.
today. So we set trends in a positive way when it comes to fashion in our community because some of those things are still around and they're still doing it. Now y'all done took singing to a whole new level. I will say that.
hold, hold up, hold up. I ain't even going there because we done been there. We
uh,
had baggy and they got tight.
uh,
The two different sets, skinny jeans and tights. We had baggy. We was bagging.
yeah,
The new cats is tights and skinny jeans. So
I got to kind of, I'm gonna touch on it because these brother, because when we say, you might see just the top, just the very top of your drawers, what I mean,
your
you just
boxes,
see the
man.
top boxes, draw, how what you wore. You only see the top, only the waistband. That's all you see.
That's it. That's it.
That's
That
it.
is it.
Just the waistband.
And our
I just
parents
want
had a
to reiterate that. Just that.
And
We
look,
had a
you
belt
you could
and it
you
was
couldn't
tight
you couldn't
on
even
your
go.
waist.
Hold up, you couldn't even go and quack with your pants just showing that
Oh
much.
yeah. No, you
Without the
couldn't do that.
judge ready to put you in jail, just
You-
coming in there
you-
disrespecting him, having your pants just that much showing of your boxes.
That's right.
Now these dudes had a
man.
whole tail out now and think it's cool. And I'm like, yo, I don't even want to get in that conversation. It's just like I always say, it's a different world, man. It's a different world. I just leave it at that. Well, yeah, man, you said some things. Do rags, yeah,
Yeah,
fashion, man. I
yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking about damage and used jeans and all that stuff back then.
Now
We went
we ain't never
through.
had no rip jean.
Well,
Man,
when
you,
you think about it now, hold up.
We
We set the
faded,
trend with that also
faded.
because the damaged jeans back then are now the distressed jeans now.
mm,
You think about it, that's where it started. The ripped jean damage, they it was a form of distressed jeans, and it kind of jumped. It jumped. Now you to your point, Chris, we did wear baggy clothes. That's what we wore.
Yeah.
I know I wore probably a 22, 23 waist. I was wearing 26s because I just wanted my clothes to be baggy. You know what I'm saying? I had to wrap my belt around twice to make sure my pants didn't fall off.
yeah.
Now
Hmm.
you got cats that don't wear belts and they holding them up to try to run with one hand.
No, they got belts. They some of them have belts on. They got nice sparkly belts, but don't even have them buckled. Just be hanging all open. Belt. Let me start because y'all I told you I was trying to talk about
I mean, but like I
Nah,
said,
I
culture,
talk about these.
culture has changed even from music, man. You got to realize. I remember when like I said, we could go to block parties. It was no, might have been a fist fight. It was a lot of fist fighting. Cats always had fights, man. But you could dust it off and come back, man. And then even when they started shooting, it wasn't no head shots and chest shots. You had to really do something for real to somebody for them to get mad enough to do that. Most cats got shot in the leg just to prove a point to you. You know what I'm saying? It was no all this crazy stuff that's going on now. Now these kids got military type stuff, and they like doing
Oh yeah.
all crazy janks. And when you start shooting up somebody's grandmama house and mama house, and then you shooting up somebody, they gotta wait till somebody just died, man, and you shooting it up, you on a whole new different level, man. Even the mafia don't even do no dumb stuff like that, man. And they the real. I mean, the mafia. I got issues with people calling themselves gangsters because I never heard of mafia say they were gangster. That's a lifestyle for them. When you trying to call yourself something and everybody ain't recognizing you for that, you know what I'm saying? I feel like you trying to be something that might not be your characteristic. I mean, when you born in a culture, if you gang bang and you born in, that's your culture. That's because you was raised as a child doing that activity. But when you trying to mimic something, man, that's something that you choose to do. And like I said, I'm not endorsing anybody what they doing or whatever you want to do, but we was in a time when we was more leaders than followers. We did a lot of different stuff. Like we talk about clothes, Lee jeans, Levi's. We even stitched, our creases in our clothes. We even had people to, bleach our clothes and draw on our clothes. We had a whole different era. Today, man, it's like everybody following the same thing and they separated people wanting to be leaders or positive. It's like the more negative you is or the more ratchet you is or the more, gangster you is, everybody wants they like that type activity. And it's like we in adult ages. Even though we got this technology and we got all this stuff going on for us, but what good and this is something real when we talk about technology. Do you know every time I go in a store and I'm sitting there and I try to get some change for somebody, they can't add worth a damn, man. I mean, they can just got to give me 3 or 4 cents back, and I'm looking at them, and they got to pull out their phone, type all that, and I'm like, man, just 4 cents, man. I gave you like, I gave you like a quarter, and it's like 21 cent, and they can't do math at all. They took away because what I realized is they had access so much to these devices and these phones that they did have not had the skill to really understand how to add and subtract or multiply or divide. They've been using devices that their mind can't automatically think quick and just multiply, divide, or subtract or anything.
that's crazy, man. Let me get ready to jump into this last question. I do want to drop this on y'all. Don't forget about the silk shirts. If you got oil on them silk shirts, they were done. But anyway, uh, what are Gen X's failures that contribute to the breakdown in the black community?
All right. I'm gonna say that going back to the like I said the just how we entered in our last stages of or our early stages of adulthood, the music we listened to. um, and just how we view life, man. I mean, I think we were the generation that started like, well, we really don't care, you know what I mean? Because we were rebellious against the establishment, and then we was kind of rebellious against our parents in a sense because of how we were raised when we were coming up. Because it's like, okay, you get beat, bust upside your head. After a while, you feel a little resistant toward it, even though you respect your parents, but you knew at a certain point, once I got out the house, oh, I ain't got to worry about that no more. I ain't got to worry about dealing being under their roof and dealing with what they got going on. I'm gonna do me, and that's where I think some of the that we pass that on. You know what I'm saying? The mindset, the whatever. You know what I mean? Because if we sagging a little bit, they just going another level and just sagging more. So I think the generation that's gonna be after them gonna sag even more. They might have their joints on their knees. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's inherent to be, just be honest with where we are and how we stood back when we were coming up.
I feel like we levitate to the negative energy, and somehow we just been, this is what they advertise to us. This is what they push this agenda on us, and we glorify negativity. And we have become a culture that a lot of people around the world watches the black community, because we have made, like I said, suffering something that looks good. We have made poverty look
Yeah,
good. We have made violence look good,
yeah.
and we glorify the negativity now that a lot of these kids, how that was once was music, and most of these dudes who was rapping these songs talking about violence and selling drugs wasn't even living that lifestyle, but the words you speak bring into existence. Some of these songs now is what we are looking. When we were listening to this music in the 90s and all this stuff, look at the reflection of what the music is now nowadays what people are doing, because you got new artists that even some of them are getting murdered just to get the record deal. These rappers are killing each other. Some of them was really going out here putting bodies down and then getting on a mic and rapping about it and glorifying what they did. So it's like I feel like our generation has influenced a lot of the activity that's going on today, but we didn't look at it that it was going to turn, because some of us had a good mind and know it's just entertainment. Today, people are not looking at it as entertainment, it's a way of life. And I think we were a culture of letting, listening and supporting a certain type of music that's now is of influence in our community that we cannot control. It's like a wildfire that we didn't think was going to get out of control, and now it's out of control, and the kids are like the Peter with a pipe. You can't tell them not to listen to all these music, and we don't really have a lot of positive artists out here. We got Kendrick in certain parts, but the music has really shifted.
That's real.
I'm gonna say, man, drugs and sex were promoted a lot in the latter part of our generation. I mean, like the late '80s and '90s. I think there was a push to talk about more drugs, more sex. If you look at like Ice T's album cover, if you think about when Biggie dropped, the things that he talked about on his album. If you think about a lot of what was going on in your own neighborhood, the rolling of blunts, because back in the day, people they weren't nobody smoking blunts like when we were little. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Weren't nobody smoking blunts. So I think it progressed. Even the alcoholism, everything progressed, and it just got bigger, and it started consuming our community.
Hmm.
Now, like you said, Chris, everybody smokes. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
When we were growing up, you had a couple of guys that put it in the air, but you didn't really see a whole lot of women doing that.
Yeah.
Even with the drinking now, women drink just as much as men. That wasn't like a big thing
Exactly.
back there when we were coming up, you know. So I gotta say drugs and alcohol, man. And it started with us,
All right.
promoting that. You know,
Remember the
you
St.
having a
Ives
drink.
commercials?
Oh man, what are you talking about, man?
Where
What
where
are you
they,
talking
they,
about,
they,
man?
they went from, they had all the rappers, promoting the daggone, promoting the malt liquor. You know what I'm saying? Then they came out with different flavors. The Mad Dog 2020, the
Yeah, Saint
Plus,
Ives.
as we call.
We
You know
had
what I
Saint
mean?
Ives by the rappers. All
The
these different
Boom
flavors.
Fond with the Strawberry Hill. Yeah, man,
Uh,
there were a lot. A lot of these things contribute to the downfall of the black community. Um,
right.
we lost a sense of love and respect for ourselves. Because if you think about it, and I know we got to wrap up in a minute, but if you think about it, growing up, the attire that men and women had are very different than when we became grown. Most of the girls were rocking jeans and tennis shoes. Now, it's not like that, man. It's not like that at all. Um, Most of the guys, like to Chris's point, we were wearing baggy clothes, hoodie, sweatshirt. That's just how we got down. And
Mm.
things changed, man. Things changed. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this show. This was a hot topic. I enjoyed this discussion with the fellas.
Yeah.
But you know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established.
This has been the Get Established Show Live. Join us on YouTube, of course, Facebook, the Gram, X, whatever else we on. But we on. That's what we on. We enjoyed this show here. Please, like I said, like, comment, continue the conversation in the comments on the page on YouTube and on Facebook, wherever we're on. Continue that conversation. Just think about everything that you had back in the day. So, for us, Generation X that are up here, our pushing producer. Peace.